Deep in Grizzly Peak Wilderness, the largest grizzly bear in the Rockies was caught in a brutal, illegal snare. His life hung by a thread. His only witness? Luna, the elusive alpha gray wolf, whose unbelievable action shattered everything we know about nature. The air was thin and frigid, carrying the faint scent of iron and pine. Blood pooled on the frozen earth, slowly congealing around the illegal steel jaws. Grizz, a beast of immense, legendary power, was reduced to a shuddering mass of muscle and fur. The snare was ancient, designed only for maximum agony, placed by merciless trophy hunters who sought only a grisly prize. He was trapped, and the pain was a raw, endless, silent howl suppressed by sheer exhaustion. He was dying. Suddenly, a massive gray shadow emerged from the dawn mist, gliding between the massive pine trees. It was Luna, the matriarch, the alpha gray wolf. She was a ghost of the mountains, rarely seen, never approached. Luna circled Grizz, not with the hunger of a rival, but with an urgency that defied her predatory nature. Grizz could only watch, expecting an attack, the final, brutal mercy of the wild. But Luna did the unbelievable. She didn't attack. She didn't flee. She lifted her head and let out a series of low, deep whistles, a sound far from a wolf's usual repertoire. It was a plea, a warning, something almost desperate. Wyatt Stone, the weathered chief ranger, arriving by sheer intuitive luck, witnessed the impossible tableau through his binoculars. A wolf guarding a bear. As Wyatt approached, Luna turned and met his gaze. He saw not fear, but a desperate, intelligent appeal for help. Wyatt knew his duty was clear. He had to save the bear. The alpha wolf asked a human for help, but getting a wounded grizzly out of the wilderness is one thing. Keeping a dying one alive is a battle for a different kind of promise. Hold tight, because the true danger is just beginning. The tense, adrenaline-fueled rescue was successful. Grizz was sedated, airlifted, and stabilized at the Grizzly Peak Recovery Center. The immediate danger of the snare was gone, but a new quiet peril took its place. Grizz was fighting a severe, deep tissue infection, septic shock. The standard, powerful antibiotics Dr. Eleanor Vance was administering were failing to halt the toxic tide. Dr. Vance, the young, brilliant veterinarian, looked utterly defeated. She sat by the immense bear, her hand resting on his thick, fevered fur. The medical team began preparing for the devastating possibility of a merciful end, euthanasia, the hardest, most final decision any caregiver must face. The tension eased into a grim, silent despair. Luna, the loyal guardian, had followed them for miles. She now paced the edge of the recovery area's perimeter fence, a constant, silent presence. She watched. She waited. One frigid morning, a ranger found something near the chain-link fence. A small, carefully arranged pile of freshly dug wild ginger root and vibrant yarrow leaves. These were not typical wolf treasures. Dr. Vance initially dismissed it, a coincidence, a random finding. Then she looked at the herbs, then at Luna, who stared back with an unwavering, knowing gaze. Dr. Vance remembered her textbooks. The local Native American tribes used those very plants for powerful anti-inflammatory and antiseptic poultices. Could an animal possess that level of environmental healing knowledge? In a moment of radical, career-risking conviction, Dr. Vance ordered the team to create a traditional poultice using Luna's gift. It was a desperate, last-ditch effort, relying on an alpha wolf's wild wisdom over modern science. Slowly, painstakingly, the impossible began to happen. Grizz's ragged breathing eased. The fever broke. The infection began its long, agonizing retreat. Luna's ancient knowledge had worked. Wyatt, watching the dramatic turnaround, finally understood the deeper truth. He shared the subplot flashback with Dr. Vance. Grizz and Luna, cubs rescued from a border smuggling operation 7 years ago, separated by bars but bound by shared trauma in a small, cramped holding facility. They had been separated but never truly parted. The herbs were Luna's way of keeping her childhood promise. The bond was real. The bear is breathing, but Ranger Wyatt's stone is suspended. The political forces are closing in. We've seen a wolf protect a bear from disease, but can she protect them both from human greed and betrayal? The darkness is getting closer. The physical crisis of the grizzly was over, but the political and financial storm was brewing. Councilman Thorne, a man whose subtle corruption had plagued the county for years, was determined to sell the bear's unique head for a massive black market price. He successfully used his political power to suspend Wyatt, citing insubordination, and dramatically cut funding for the recovery center. The tension of the medical emergency subsided, replaced by the crushing weight of bureaucratic revenge and silence. It seemed Thorne had won a quiet, administrative victory. Wyatt was stripped of his badge, but his promise was intact. He became an unofficial guardian, patrolling the perimeter with a worn rifle and a thermos of coffee, his heart heavy with the fear of inevitable intrusion. The pre-dawn hour arrived, the darkest part of the night. The video feed from the recovery center flickered, then died. Thorne's men were here. Wyatt saw the three figures in black tactical gear, not mere trophy hunters, but organized mercenaries cutting the chain-link fence. As he grabbed his radio, a shadow moved too quickly. A large, dark figure ambushed him from the shadows near the old ranger's shack. It was Ryan, the young ranger Wyatt had personally mentored, the one Wyatt had trusted most. Ryan's eyes were frantic, filled with desperation. "I'm sorry, Wyatt. I had to. The debt Thorne promised to pay it off." Wyatt and Ryan grappled in the freezing mud, a desperate, heartbreaking fight between mentor and betrayer. It wasn't just a physical struggle, it was a battle for the soul of the Ranger Corps. Wyatt subdued the young man, his old bones aching, his heart heavy with the cost of human greed and vulnerability. He secured Ryan with a pair of cuffs he still carried. He rushed towards the main enclosure. The three mercenaries were armed, their faces covered, aiming their silenced rifles not at Grizz, but at the lock. They were here for a clean, quick kill. A terrifying sound ripped through the night, not a howl, but a guttural, furious, coordinated wolf charge yell. Luna and her entire pack, 5 large gray wolves, burst from the surrounding pines. They were a force of nature, moving with the precision of a trained unit. They moved like lightning, not to kill the hunters, but to swarm, disable, and terrify. The alpha wolf knew the bear was defenseless, and she brought her entire family to war. The hunters, expecting one old suspended ranger, were paralyzed by the ferocious, coordinated wolf attack. Luna charged the man closest to the fence, using her weight and speed to knock him down, snapping her jaws inches from his face. The other wolves followed, their low, menacing growls echoing across the valley, surrounding the overwhelmed mercenaries. Wyatt, using the chaos of the natural defense, rushed forward. He quickly administered tranquilizers to the 2 most threatening hunters. The third, seeing his colleagues drop, turned and fled into the darkness. But the victory was brutal. As the third hunter ran, he fired wildly into the trees. Luna, who was shielding her young niece, the small pup, from the line of fire, let out a sharp, agonizing cry. Wyatt rushed to her side. Luna had a deep graze along her flank. It was painful, but not fatal. The bear was safe, the enemies were subdued, but the alpha wolf, the protector, the healer, the loyal friend, was hurt. Wyatt looked from the captured betrayer to the wounded Luna. He realized the true peril wasn't the poacher's gun, but the human corruption that broke bonds and put money over life. The pack is wounded, but their alpha is alive. Now the hunters demand a ransom for their final prize, the missing pup. Can a bear, an injured wolf, and a suspended ranger defeat a system that thrives on fear? The promise is about to be tested one last time. The crisis was over, the immediate threat gone, but the atmosphere was thick with anxiety. One of the pack members, a small, 6-month-old pup, Luna's niece, was missing. The frantic hunter, the one who fled, had grabbed the pup as a desperate bargaining chip. Luna, her side bandaged but still bleeding, was beside herself, pacing, her howls now mournful and desperate. The entire pack was unsettled, their unity fractured by the loss of one of their own. Wyatt, Dr. Vance, and Thomas, who had driven up from the hospital, refusing to stay away, listened to the hunter's ransom demand over the phone, his freedom for the pup. "We can't bargain with him," Wyatt stated grimly, "but we can't risk the pup's life. We know he's hiding near the old North Logging Road." They had reached an agonizing impasse. The hunter was heavily armed, paranoid, and holding a life. Wyatt knew his traditional police tactics would be too slow and too risky for the small, fragile pup. The moment of truth arrived. Wyatt looked at the immense, fully recovered grizzly bear, who was pacing his enclosure, mirroring Luna's distress. Grizz saw his friend's pain. He smelled the fear of the pack. He was no longer a victim, he was a warrior. Wyatt, against all protocol, against all scientific advice, made the final, terrifying decision. He looked at Thomas. He knows the path. He has to do it alone. He's paying his debt. Wyatt and Thomas drove to the bear's main gate. Wyatt opened the heavy steel door. "Grizz," Wyatt whispered, his voice gravelly. "You know where to go, big guy. Bring her home. This is your promise." Grizz didn't hesitate. He charged out, not in a panic, but with a focused, ground-shaking determination. He was a mountain of muscle and fur, a creature of myth and power, guided by Luna's anguish. The showdown. Grizz found the hunter huddled behind a boulder, holding the small, terrified pup. The hunter raised his gun, but his hands shook uncontrollably. Grizz let out a thunderous, earth-shaking roar, a sound of pure, unadulterated primal fury that slammed into the hunter's chest. The sheer, overwhelming terror of the grizzly was too much for the panicked man. The hunter dropped the pup and the gun and fled screaming into the dense forest, never to be seen again. Grizz, the savage beast, didn't pursue him. He gently nudged the small pup with his massive snout, guiding the frightened creature toward the scent of the pack. The powerful bear then looked back at Wyatt and Thomas, who watched from the trail, his eyes showing a profound, weary intelligence. He had faced the human threat, and he had won. The alpha wolf's alpha bear had kept the promise. The bear is the hero, the pup is safe. But now the hardest choice, to separate them forever or to dare to defy nature. The next moments will redefine the meaning of family in the wilderness. The final verdict is moments away. The crisis was over. The hunters were captured and the pup was safe. But the world of science, of conservation, of government policy, demanded separation. The scientists argued fiercely for the grizzly to be a grizzly, the wolf to be a wolf. Predators cannot coexist. Instinct will take over, they argued. The fate of Grizz and Luna now rested on the final decision, to defy nature's rule or to break the bond of loyalty. Wyatt, Dr. Vance, and the community who had rallied with donations, letters, and overwhelming support argued for the impossible. They had seen the herb cure, the protective stand, and the solo rescue. They had seen a bond stronger than instinct. The final decision was made. They opened the gates to the vast, protected territory, the entire Central Valley of Grizzly Peak Wilderness, allowing the bear and the wolves to choose their own destiny. Grizz was released. He was free, a king returning to his domain. He walked to the edge of the pines. Luna, her pack gathered around her, watched from a distance, the tension in the air almost palpable. For long, agonizing seconds, the bear and the wolf stood apart, two massive legends of the wilderness. Then Luna, the majestic alpha, made the final move. She let out a low, soft, welcoming yip and walked slowly, with a slight limp from her wound, toward Grizz. Her entire posture communicated trust and acceptance. Grizz, in turn, lowered his mighty head. He didn't glower or assert dominance. Luna walked right up to him and gently licked his scar, the old, raw wound from the snare. It was a gesture of healing, of recognition, and of profound, unconditional love. The pack followed their alpha's lead. The pup, the smallest, the one Grizz had saved, was the most fearless. She darted forward and, finding the massive bear's fur warm and inviting, curled up against his massive paw. The other wolves followed. They settled into a loose, protective circle around the bear. This was not coexistence. This was integration. This was family. Wyatt and Dr. Vance watched from a distant ridge, wiping away tears of pure, exhausted relief and triumph. They saw Grizz gently shift his position so the pup could be more comfortable. Luna lay down a few feet away, her head resting on her paws, watching her pack and her protector. Their secret bond did not just save their lives, it saved the soul of the wilderness. It proved that in the heart of the American frontier, loyalty, compassion, and courage transcend all boundaries of species, size, and instinct. They had achieved the impossible. The bear had found his pack. The wolf had found her protector. They had redefined the meaning of America's wildlife. The story of Grizz and Luna reminds us that the greatest bonds are often forged where we least expect them. In the heart of the American wild, these two showed the world that loyalty and love transcend all boundaries. If this incredible story of hope and true loyalty resonated with your own belief in courage and friendship, please tell us. What surprised you most about the alpha wolf's courage? Leave your thoughts and comments below, and be sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss our next Miracle of the Mountains.